Hey guys, it's AJ, and today we're drawing Bing Dwen Dwen, the 2022 Winter Olympics mascot. So let's get started. So for today's drawing, you're just going to need a pencil and an eraser connected or not to the pencil, either way, and a Sharpie or a pen, whatever you'd like to use to ink your drawing, and something to color with. So let's start on our character. So for his body, we're just going to start with an oval, and we are going to have to erase some construction shapes today because his body starts out with an oval and we don't need those extra lines. So we're just going to start with this oval, very simple, kind of a stubby little oval. And you're just going to come all the way around, right about in the middle of your paper. And there we go. So there's the start of his body. Let's add some legs now. For the legs, you're going to curve out from the body and around into a little stubby leg. He's got super cute short legs. So you're going to come up and around and curve to make, the space in between his legs. We're going to add another foot on this side. Come up and curve back into his body. So there we go. And we are going to add some details onto his foot. So first you're going to just kind of draw a line up and connect into the side of his body. And same for the other foot. And then draw another line because that area is going to be filled in with gray later. So now let's do his arms. For his arms, the first one is kind of a little higher up on his body. So for the first arm, he's got his arm raised up. So you're going to curve around in almost like a high five motion. It's cute. And connect back into his body. And then you're going to draw a little heart on his hand. There we go. And for the other side, you're going to just have his arm hanging at his side. So let's draw that side. So you're just going to curve around, kind of like a half teardrop shape, almost. And then we are going to fill that in with black later. But for now, let's add his ears. So for his ears, you're just going to come up, and don't worry about this extra line here. We are going to erase that later, but let's just add his ears. They're just kind of these little bumps right on each side of his head. They're pretty small, not super big. And there we go. They're just little semicircles on his head. Now let's add his little spacesuit ice shell sort of thing. So for that, you're just going to come around and follow the line of his body. And make sure you get in these little cracks just gently. And you want to leave space in between because we are going to have to do some Sharpie around that later. So you're just going to come all the way around there, around his feet. And you're actually going to come in a little bit closer to the bottom of his feet. Because, otherwise, if they're rounded, how would he stand? So you're just going to come in kind of close to the bottom of his feet. And then go back to the kind of bubbly shape he had before. And you're going to curve around his arm and go around his little ears. That's part of the reason his ears are so small, I think, when they designed this character, so they could add the little spacesuit ice shell around him. And there we go. So there's Bing Dwen Dwen's body and spacesuit shell. Let's add some details. So, for his face, we're just going to draw another oval. This time, it's going to be a little bit flatter, and it's going to fill up most of his head area. And he has these shiny kind of light details around his face, which we are going to add with markers later. So we're not going to draw those in right now. You're just going to leave that section blank, and we're not going to Sharpie this oval area. but you are going to make it fairly big. So there we go. There's that oval. Now let's add the details on his tummy, and then we're going to get to his face. So for the details on his tummy, this is going to be the logo for Beijing 2022. So there we go. We're just going to draw kind of a sharp curve and then curve back in and down and out. There we go. Just like that. And kind of a little Z sort of thing right there. I'm just going to add some scribbles to represent the words on his belly. Just like that. You know, to make it simpler to draw. And we're just going to add a simplified design of the Olympic rings. Just 3 circles right next to each other and 2 right below those 3. Just like that. Now let's add his face. He's a panda, so he has those dark areas around his eyes. So those are going to be kind of diagonal facing ovals. And they're just going to be kind of like that. And then same on the other side. Another oval. There we go. There. So those ovals are done. Now we're going to add some facial features. So for his eyes, we're just going to draw little circles right on this inside edge of the ovals on his face. So just like that. Actually, pretty big, because he's got very large eyes. And so you're just going to add those circles. And then right inside, there's a little bit of white around his eye. Or, well, around the pupil area. So you're just going to add that in and leave a little bit of white space right there. Now you're going to add a little sparkle on this side of the eye. And then you're going to add an even smaller one, which we're going to fill in with some color later. And then on this side, you're just going to do the same thing. Draw a circle. And then you're going to add the white on this side again, so that it kind of looks like they're looking in the same direction. Just like that. Now let's add that little sparkle on the same side as the last one, and then add another smaller one. Once again, we are going to fill that up with the color. Now let's add his nose and mouth. So for the nose, you're just going to kind of draw a simple little stubby triangle. Pretty much a circle, just not quite. Give it a little bit more shape. And then for the mouth, he's got just a happy little face. So you're just going to draw a little smile and then make it a little bit thicker at the bottom of his mouth. And there he is. I'm just going to add some Sharpie, but I am not going to Sharpie this oval around his face because we are just going to use markers for that. And same with his little ice shell spacesuit. Got it? Okay, so I have just finished tracing, and as you can see, I filled in the bottom part of his feet, his arms, and his ears. So now let's go ahead and do his eyes. So the first thing you're going to use is, I decided not to use the Sharpie because I didn't want it to, spread or anything by accident. So I'm just using just a black marker because mine is a little bit tiny bit lighter than a Sharpie. And you're just going to fill in his eyes, the pupil part, and not fill in those white dots. So there we go. Those are all filled in. Now let's go ahead and add his ice shell. What you're going to do is you're just going to trace that line with a gray. And so that'll give it the definition of seeming kind of see-through. Okay, so now I'm just going to fill in the little space between his leg and his body that we left blank earlier for this exact reason. So that's all filled in. So now we're just going to add some red in that little heart on his hand. There we go. And we have a few more colors that we're going to do. We're just going to add, I'm using a seafoam greenish color, and fill in that little dot that we left blank in his eye, but leave the larger one white. That just gives his eye a little bit of color. And now I'm going to add a ring around the little oval we left around his face. So I'm just using a bright yellow, an orange, a light green, a dark blue, and a medium blue, and a pink. So you can pause the video at the end when I'm done, and I'm going to fill that in. Okay, so our happy little mascot, Bing Dwen Dwen, is finally complete, and now is a good time to pause the video if you would like to match my colors. And make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and remember to like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!